Coming up, traffic volume is on the upswing after COVID-19, but the pandemic cancels another aviation event.
Plus, building craft airplanes for a good cause.
And taking it easy in the Finger Lakes. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Your plane is a valuable tool. With the Genesis Aerosystems STEC 3100 digital autopilot, you can rest assured you will arrive safely to your destination. The 3100 is the industry's most advanced autopilot for single and twin-engine aircraft, providing exceptional workload reduction, safety-enhancing capabilities such as straight and level mode and speed protection. To learn more, visit our website today.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Alyssa Cobb.
Well, we may not be back to normal by any means, but general aviation flying is starting to come back.
As you can see in this chart, business aviation trending upward after the drastic decline in March. As more of you are starting to venture out in your aircraft, you might be wondering about precautions to keep you from contracting the coronavirus. Now, there isn't much risk of exposure to the coronavirus in your own aircraft, but hey, what about the FBO? NATA, the folks that represent FBOs, has just released its Safety First Clean Standards. It incorporates the best practices from the CDC with specific recommendations for the unique FBO environment. There's a self-certifying checklist after which the FBO can display this logo to let you know they've taken safety precautions to keep you healthy. Many FBOs have already taken steps to keep their businesses healthy. Signature Flight Support, for example, has launched Signature Assure with standardized protocols to combat the spread of COVID-19.
The COVID-19 pandemic has led to the cancellation of yet another aviation event. This time, it's ours. With great regret, we've canceled the AOPA fly-in to Rochester, New York. That had been scheduled for September. Now, we reached that decision after close consultation with the airport and the air traffic control tower, the county, and local and state health departments. We were facing staffing issues due to the health crisis and a lot of uncertainty whether large events would be permitted in New York 3 months from now, a time when infrastructure commitments must be made.
It is sad to see us not having an event this September. We're sorry to the community. We're sorry to our members. We wish we could be there, but we're going to be around. And we look forward to 2021.
Now, anyone who had registered for the Rochester fly-in will get a full refund for any ticket purchases automatically. Well, Tom, I know we were all holding out hope for this to be a great event in September, being free to fly and get together, but safety comes first.
Yeah, we were really bummed. It was something we'd really been hoping all summer that we might be able to preserve that thing, but it just too many things stacked up against us, too much uncertainty about the number of people that might be able to attend and what steps we might have to take to keep people separated if we were allowed to have an event at all. And with now being in a position where we have to make infrastructure commitments and that sort of thing, it just became sort of untenable, as well as you said, some of the staffing issues locally. So anyhow, that became a real challenge, and we just kind of hit a brick wall there, unfortunately. So, we are looking at other events to do some things later, perhaps, and certainly looking at our 2021 strategy on what we might be able to do to make sure that we can continue to interact with pilots all across the country. So stay tuned for more as we kind of develop that. But hey, there's still more fallout, unfortunately, from the pandemic. Canadians have a reputation for being awfully nice, but right now they don't want you to visit, either by plane, train, or automobile.
On Thursday night with the premiers, we had another good conversation around the border restrictions, particularly with the United States. And it is clear that there is broad consensus across the provinces that we need to continue to keep current border measures in place. We will keep discussing with the United States administration on ways forward. But our priority on this is to ensure that we're keeping Canadians safe while continuing to ensure the flow of essential goods and services.
Canada remains closed to everything except essential travel, so if you're thinking of flying north for a little fishing, they don't want you there just yet. The Bahamas, on the other hand, reopened to general aviation this week. You'll need this health card and soon proof of a negative COVID test You can find the procedures for flying to the Bahamas on the website.
Well, for those of us with kids, the coronavirus pandemic has been extra challenging. Daycares are closed, playgrounds are closed, and many of the activities we do with our kids have been canceled. That's led to a lot of extra time at home. But I found a story of one kid in Arizona who is making the most of his time at home. 6-year-old Nicholas Bubeck loves crafts and airplanes, and he found a way to combine those loves and help others at the same time.
My mom told me to start a business during the coronavirus. One day my mom brought out this huge box of crafts and made a plane, and then my baby brother tried to take it away from me. Then I made one for him, and then a light bulb came on, and I said, hey, my business should be silly craft planes.
So why did Nicholas choose airplanes?
I love planes because they let you travel. I love traveling, but we can't travel, right? So that's why I made these planes, to imagine that you're traveling wherever you want.
And these aren't just any craft airplanes.
My airplanes are cool because they have this cool booster on the back. And there's also special wheels and a clip holder that can hold anything, even a picture.
Nicholas sells completed airplanes that he builds himself and craft kits that parents and kids can build together as a fun activity. Now Nicholas takes some of the money from his airplanes and donates it to the Triple Heart Foundation.
It's an organization that gives books to the NICU. And I'm in the NICU too.
And Nicholas also donates kits to families affected by the coronavirus.
The Kids for Kids program gives free kits to kids whose mom and dad who's treating the coronavirus.
So how does Nicholas feel about helping others with his airplanes?
It makes me happy.
And if you're interested in buying one of Nicholas's airplanes or kits, you can find them at creationsbynicholas.com.
Hey, this falls into the "we told you so" category. The FAA could run out of money soon. Why? Why, the COVID crisis, more specifically the CARES Act that Congress passed this spring. A little bit of background here. About 99% of the FAA's money comes from the Aviation and Airways Trust Fund. And that trust fund gets its money from aviation excise taxes, including the fuel tax and the passenger ticket tax. But the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, we call it the CARES Act, gave the airlines a tax holiday. So the only money coming in right now is from the fuel taxes you're paying when you fly GA. And guess what? That's not enough, as AOPA and a bunch of others told Congress back in April. And the House Transportation Committee said the same thing. So now it's up to Congress to steer some money from the general fund to keep the FAA going. And one final note, if we had a privatized system of use with user fees, well, like, Canada, you know how they'd fix this, of course. Why, they would raise the fees a lot. And they've already done that in Canada. So one more reason to keep an eye out on privatized air traffic control fees.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's an Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University graduate now commanding the U.S. Air Force. General Charles Q. Brown was confirmed as the Air Force Chief of Staff last week. He's a fighter pilot with more than 2,900 hours, including 130 in combat. He holds a Master's of Aeronautical Science from Embry-Riddle. General Brown recently posted a heartfelt video on Twitter on his thoughts on racial injustice and what he plans to do for the Air Force.
I can't fix centuries of racism in our country, nor can I fix decades of discrimination that may have impacted members of our Air Force. I'm thinking about how I can make improvements, personally, professionally, and institutionally, so that all airmen, both today and tomorrow, appreciate the value of diversity and can serve in an environment where they can reach their full potential. I'm thinking I don't have all the answers on how to create such an environment, whether here in PACAF or across our Air Force. I'm thinking about, without clear-cut answers, I just want to have the wisdom and knowledge to lead during difficult times like these. I want the wisdom and knowledge to lead, participate in, and listen to necessary conversations on racism, diversity, and inclusion. I want the wisdom and knowledge to lead those willing to take committed and sustained action to make our Air Force better.
It's a powerful video and it's worth watching the whole thing. You can find a link to it on our website. There have been an ongoing series of discussions of race in aviation put on by the Organization for Black Aerospace Professionals. They call it Courageous Conversations, and they include a highly diverse group of aviation industry leaders. Blacks represent about 13% of the U.S. population, but only 3% of airline pilots are black. Other people of color and women are equally underrepresented in aviation. The executive director of AOPA's You Can Fly program spoke about what your association is doing to open aviation opportunities to everyone, including the AOPA's Aviation STEM curriculum that's free to all high schools. More than a third of the kids learning in that program are minorities.
AOPA has the power to affect the entire pilot life cycle, and I hope they go beyond the STEM program. It's a great start, so that after high school, all people feel welcome to the aviation community, and they work into a career or a lifelong passion.
So I think as we look forward, all of us acknowledge that we can do more and can do better. And I think we need to make that a focal point for what we do as a community. So as we become more inclusive, as we become more diverse, that inherently gets a little easier. But right now, we need to really make the effort to make people feel welcome, to let them know that they're an important part of our industry and our community, regardless of what they look like, regardless of what their background is, and to really hear them. Listen and hear where people are coming from. Don't just pay lip service to these ideas, but spend the time, have these conversations. These are vitally important. Have them with your friends who are pilots. When you see a kid looking over the airport fence, regardless of what that kid looks like, invite them over to take a look at the airplane, have a conversation about being a pilot.
OBAP has more courageous conversations scheduled. You can watch online. The information is on their website.
Well, hey, the noise level over noise drowning out the GPS signal, it's getting louder. The issue is whether Ligado's proposed 5G wireless network will jam GPS reception. Just about everybody but Ligado says it probably will. Now get this, Ligado spent more than $2.5 million last year lobbying Congress and the feds. They spent $750,000 in just the first 3 months this year. The Federal Communications Commission approved Ligado's plan back in April, despite opposition from AOPA and the aviation industry, the Defense Department, Homeland Security, and many others. The aviation groups petitioned the FCC to reconsider in June. Some members of Congress are looking at action to overturn the FCC, but Ligado seems to have a lot of money to convince them otherwise. You can read more on our website. And hey, this might convince you to do a pre-flight every time before you fly, and you do that, don't you? Even after you've just stopped for fuel and a bite? Well, there's one pilot who wishes now he'd at least done a walk-around before flying. The Icon A5 pilot taxied downwind on the water for takeoff. He turned into the wind, applied full power, and about 5 seconds later heard a loud bang. He shut down, climbed out, looked back, and saw that all 3 propeller blades were missing. The aircraft sustained enough damage that it then sank. The pilot later remembered that before he taxied out, he'd washed the aircraft, and he'd put a portable speaker on top of the aircraft to listen to some tunes while working. He didn't remember taking the speaker off the airplane. Ouch, what a sad song.
Oh my, that's a bad day for sure. Well, on a much happier note, 80 bright young people are well on their way to a pilot certificate. The AOPA Foundation and the You Can Fly program awarded the teens a $10,000 flight training scholarship. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop caught up with one of the student pilots in a pilot lounge segment.
So you got another year of high school. What's it going to be like going back to school if, we're allowed to go back into classes and stuff, and being able to tell people about your summer of flight training?
It's going to be pretty cool. Not a lot of people have that opportunity. So I think it's going to be a real neat thing to share with other people.
So you've already started the training, got right to it. Tell me about those first couple hours that you've done.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been flying with a local instructor in Brainerd. So that's where I live, primarily. But it's been pretty great. We've gotten right to it, and looking forward to doing some more training.
So what kind of things have you covered in your first couple lessons?
We got right into it. So we've done, slow flight, approach stalls, couple landings, a little bit of everything. We did a simulated engine out earlier this week, so that was an interesting experience.
Now, Tristan plans to pursue an aeronautical engineering degree, and he's got a particular interest in aerodynamics. Now, he's quite well-rounded. He's a competitive swimmer and hopes to compete at the collegiate level. You can find the full interview with him on our social media channels. Now, the scholarships are made possible by donations to the AOPA Foundation and by a generous gift from the James C. Ray Foundation.
Amazing what those scholarships can do to turn around somebody's opportunities. That's wonderful. Hey, Pipistrel working to build flight training aircraft for future pilots, and they just achieved a first in the industry, type certification of a fully electric airplane. The certification of the new Velis Electro came from EASA, the European regulator. The Velis has 2 seats, a cruise speed of 90 knots, and it can fly for up to 50 minutes plus VFR reserves. Pipistrel already has several orders for the airplane and is planning to deliver 31 of them to 7 different countries this year. And new avgas burning trainers are headed to Tulsa. Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology in Tulsa picking up some new pipers. The college is adding 22 Archers and Seminoles. Spartan has been training aviation professionals for 90 years. The college says the new 180 horsepower Garmin G1000 NXI equipped airplanes will help continue that legacy, training the next generation of aviators. Hey, we missed a birthday last week. Hey, sorry, but it was a big one. The Cessna 172 Skyhawk turned 65 last week. First Skyhawk flew on June 12, 1955. Cessna built more than 1,100 of them that first year. First model was a variant of the taildragger Cessna 170. Hello, Alyssa. Some pilots called the nose wheel a training wheel, and through the years, Cessna, of course, added a rear window. They called it the Omnivision, and then they switched from a Continental to Lycoming in the late 60s. They changed the landing gear and called it the Landomatic. More than 44,000 172s rolled out of the Wichita and Independence factories. So happy birthday week late to the Skyhawk. So Alyssa, your 170 is sort of the genesis of what so many of us have flown over the decades.
Yeah, yep. And my 170 is just a couple years older. It's a 53 model. Love the 170 and 172s. Actually, most of my time is in that Landomatic.
I just never found it all that automatic. I got to tell you, I still had to work at it.
Yeah. Well, what better way to recharge than to fly in beautiful Arizona? Kevin McCauley sends us this clip from the beautiful Southwest, flying near Sedona and the East Verde River. Thanks to Kevin and the others who have sent in video. We love seeing the clips and sharing them with others. Now, if we haven't gotten to yours just yet, no worries. It will be coming up soon. And when we come back, a really fast chopper.
And splashing around the Finger Lakes. We'll be right back.
The future of USB charging power has arrived. Introducing new, ultra-fast charging TA360 USB chargers. Unlock the power of USB power delivery PD technology. Max power. Multiple configurations. In-seat cabin, cockpit, and galley USB power. Easy to install. Backed by the best. True Blue Power, the USB experts.
Welcome back. Well, this is one fast chopper. The Sikorsky Boeing SB-1 Defiant reached 205 knots in cruise. The coaxial rotor machine is a joint project entry in the U.S. Army's Future Vertical Lift program. The speedy sortie taking place at Sikorsky's West Palm Beach Development Flight Test Center. Now, wouldn't it be nice to have a mentor pilot with you all the time? You know, someone who could let you know without nagging that maybe your approach was a little fast, or how about a ride-along mechanic to let you know it's time to get your engine serviced? Well, if you fly a TBM, that mentor mechanic can be right in your pocket. Dare has added new features to its Me and My TBM app. After a flight, pilots can review approach speeds, angles, pitch attitudes, and other parameters to understand when they are straying from acceptable norms. The new version also sends flight times to the CAMP system's maintenance tracking system. And just to add a little fun and competition, because what pilot does not like competition, there's a My TBM challenge, which allows pilots to score themselves against the performance of other TBM pilots. So the app is free, not the TBM.
Yeah, and well, that's unfortunate, isn't it? Well, hey, with the coronavirus numbers decreasing in many parts of the country, for the first time in a long time, you might be thinking about taking a vacation. We caught up with a couple of pilots in the Finger Lakes region of New York who fly a Cessna 180 on straight floats to give tourists an aviation experience that they'll never forget.
Andy and I bought a seaplane a couple of years ago. We started doing sightseeing tours on Keuka Lake, the birthplace of seaplane aviation, thanks to Glenn H. Curtis.
It's part of the Finger Lakes region of New York, famous for wineries, breweries, and distilleries now. When somebody asks you where you're from and I say I'm from New York, all they're thinking about are skyscrapers and city streets and horns honking. This, to most people, have no idea that New York is really like this. It's a Cessna 180 on straight floats, 1954 version, but it does great for this operation. We can load it up with 4 people and get off the water in relatively quick numbers. Being able to just pick out a spot on a lake somewhere and land is pretty cool. It's like the ultimate freedom as far as flying goes. We're about 1,000 feet above the water, and a lot of people see they'll see the whole region from like Rochester International or Elmira from an airliner, but it's different when you're down that close.
Probably a full 60 to 70% of the people get in the airplane and you can just see the look, they're nervous. But once we take off the water, they're like, wow, this is great. Like halfway through, I'm like, so you're still nervous? Oh my God, no, this is so great, this is so cool. So it's amazing watching these people transition from someone kind of nervous about flying to someone like, holy crap, this is awesome.
Finger Lakes Seaplanes is not up flying again yet, but once New York State reopens a little more, they should be flying again in late June or early July. Hey, that's it for our program this week. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yep, and if you have any thoughts for us, the email address is on your screen. We'll see you next week.
There are many important things to consider before purchasing an aircraft. Let the experts at Aerospace Reports help guide you through the process. We combine expert knowledge with our long-standing commitment to personalized customer service to perfect your transaction. Learn more at aerospacereports.com.